Live on YouTube, baby. Welcome back to Drop the Ball. I'm your host, Alex Monaco, Extraordinary Sports. Chilling on our extraordinary set. These are 1990 plastic trophies behind me. 96, 97, 98. Now, some of them are 8th place like Gaylord Fokker. Some of them aren't. Either way, it's a Monday. We're so close to the NFL playoffs. You got to feel good. If you're the Panthers, you're 13-0, baby. If you're the Bengals, I apologize. Breaking news, Andy Dalton likely out for the season. That's big news. So we're going to recap real quick before we hop into our thoughts on the Sunday in the NFL. I can't believe it, but oh my gosh, the Broncos lost at home to the Raiders, and Andy Dalton's out literally for probably the rest of the season. And guess who covered last night that I said was going to the Texans? The Patriots, thank you very much. You're taking 3.5 points away from the Pats, and the score would have been 23.5-6. LeGarrette Blount got hurt. Gronk went in questionable. It doesn't really matter. So I'd like to start the show out with an opening thought, a shout out, a kudos. I just read this, and I didn't get the date on it. So obviously Carolina put up 200 yards of offense in the first quarter, went on to beat the Falcons yesterday 38-0. So Cam probably has a few more dollars to add to this stat, but I just wanted to share this because I thought it was phenomenal. So for those of you who don't know, every time the Panthers get in the end zone this season, Cam and or someone on the team is giving a football to a kid in the stands. Well, I just found out that there is a $5,512 fine towards Cam every time that happens. So I am reading something that says, to date, Cam is up to $253,552 to date. Probably not including the Falcons game, maybe a couple more. Either way, we're talking $250,000. A lot of money, but it goes to show you Cam really is giving back and not putting himself first. Now, maybe for those of you watching kind of from an observational view, you don't know too much about him. You just see him doing this after first downs, this after touchdowns, and on goes it. Actually, if you want to see a hilarious interpretation of him celebrating, go to the Extraordinary Sports Facebook page. We're up to 20,000 hits now, mimicking a Cam Newton touchdown dance and the dab. I'm not going to keep doing it. I don't want to. It's already saturated. Point being, Extraordinary Sports Facebook, check out the dance. It's great. But what I was getting to was basically Cam making the kids, not just day, not just week, not just month. You're 6 years old. You get a football handed to you from a franchise quarterback, a superstar, and the leader of your favorite football team. You must be just blown away. And to see that he's getting fun. I mean, personally, I think the NFL, take that away. All right, take that $250, take that $250,000, put it towards a charity, put it towards someone who absolutely could use it for a proper benefit. Don't feed it back into a multi-billion-dollar conglomerate because a guy's handing out footballs to kids when he scores a touchdown. He's celebrating. He's including the entire stadium in it when he's celebrating. Don't charge him. Ridiculous. Anyways, that's my opening note. Another quick comment on the NBA before we get to the NFL. Golden State Warriors lost. Went to double OT on Friday night. There were a few analysts and broadcasters predicting that the Celtics were actually going to be the ones that took down the undefeated Warriors. In fact, it was the Milwaukee Bucks. I'm looking at some stats. I want to just break it down for you guys because every NBA team is going to have an off night. Now, I'm not saying the Warriors were not who they were. I mean, they put up 95 points. It's not as much as they normally do. But you're 6 for 26 from three-point land. That's 23%. And your bench productivity, I mean, obviously Harrison Barnes is out, but you got Barbosa and Iguodala, 4 points combined. Festus Ezeli with 13, and Spates and Livingston, 6 points combined. So between four of your main bench productivity, outside of obviously Harrison Barnes because he's hurt, Iggy, Livingston, Spates, and Barbosa, 10 points. The Bucks, it was a solid effort. The Greek Freak, so they call him, 11 points. Jabari, 19. Monroe, 28 and 11. Guy was the player of the game. O.J. Mayo with 18 and Middleton with 7. And then you get Michael Carter-Williams with 17 off the bench. Look, this is what I've always said about the NBA, and I've been gambling for a while now, both for fun and, throwing some bar mitzvah money down. I've always felt in the NBA, there's trap games and there's setups. And this is almost like a boxer. He went the whole 12 rounds against the Celtics the night before. He's got to fight again. I mean, boxers don't fight again. But the point is, the team before the team that beat Goliath in this instance, the Bucks, really owe a nice tip of the cap to the Boston Celtics. The Celtics gave them all they were worth. It was an unbelievable game. Wasn't nationally televised, but if you caught the highlights, Curry had to stir up some magic. But the point is, we can move on now. The Warriors lost. Everyone's lost in the NBA. Let's go back to just talking basketball. And honestly, they're still the number one team in the NBA, I think, by a long shot. You're looking at the Spurs several games back. And then kind of after that, at least in the West speaking, you got the Thunder, the Clippers, the Rockets. Clippers and Rockets actually off to a slow start. But I've always felt before the season it was going to be the Thunder that were going to give the toughest down the stretch playoff, poking your side trouble because they've been there before. They're hungry. Kevin Durant's in a contract year. Nobody's very satisfied on that team. They got a new coach. So, I digress. But point being, Warriors lost. Golf clap. Let's get back to watching basketball and talking about every team in the NBA and not just a team that's going undefeated. Have an extraordinary moment for you. We typically do that at the beginning of our show. This is a shout out to the special teams player on the Utah Utes, Andy D. Phillips. Check him out on Twitter at Andy D. Phillips. The caption for the tweet is, "When your neighbors go to BYU." Now, this is rivalry week for the Utes. The Utes playing the Cougars, even though they're the home team, on, I believe, Saturday, the 19th at 12:30 on ABC. It's at Sam Boyd Stadium in Las Vegas, Nevada, and it's a Vegas Bowl. But basically, the picture, because it's snowing, obviously, where they are in Utah, and this guy took to this BYU neighbor's lawn, driveway, mind you, what was covered in snow and carved out a giant U. Hysterical. Got to check it out again at Andy D. Phillips. He is the partner in crime for the hysterical Australian punter that just won the Ray Guy Award, who actually got a little love on Twitter because he was talking about how the only reason he played football was because he was fat and he's rocking a dad bod because he's a rugby player by trade, which was gold, mind you. Staying on the college football train, I briefly want to talk about the Heisman Trophy results. Now, I want to run these two because I don't think Clemson Watson was really in this run. I think that was more just a courtesy. He's the leader and the quarterback for the number one team in the country. But it was a two-headed race, in my opinion, between Alabama's Derrick Henry and Christian McCaffrey, the offspring of Ed McCaffrey, great wide receiver for the Broncos, down the stretch. Now, if you obviously didn't watch the Heisman, Derrick Henry won the running back for Alabama. If you did, you saw the show. I actually didn't see the live show because I was not by a TV, but I did recap it. I did look up all the stats to double check. This is voted on by different sports professionals in the industry. And here's just point blank the stats, and you tell me what you think. Derrick Henry, 339 carries, 1,986 yards, 23 tugs. Christian McCaffrey, 319 carries, 1,847 yards, rushing, 41 receptions, 540 yards, receiving, 13 total tugs. Now, quick little side note. McCaffrey broke Reggie Bush's all-purpose yard record in the Pac-10. It was a Pac-10, now it's a Pac-12, as a conference record. And he broke Barry Sanders' all-purpose yards of 3,496, which previously was 3,250. That stood for 27 years. Now, I believe Barry played 2 games less. It was 1 for sure. I think it was 2 ultimately. Played 2 less games. But here's what I'm thinking. Let's put power rankings of which teams these guys play for aside, and let's just look at the stats. Henry, just over 100 yards more on the ground than McCaffrey, and 10 more touchdowns. Other than that, you're talking about McCaffrey getting 540 yards receiving. He ran multiple kicks back, between his punt and kick returning, and 13 tugs. Now, the big stat that jumps out to me is 10 less touchdowns than Henry. I'm wondering if the committee was like, all right, we can't give the Heisman to a guy that's got 10 less touchdowns than another premier running back. Now, Derrick Henry, I think, is going to be a monster in the NFL. Guy just runs downhill. He's got power, speed. He's elusive. He's shifty. He's going to be successful. But I just don't think you can bypass a guy and who's basically broke a record of a Hall of Famer in Barry Sanders, in a record that stood for 27 years, almost 3 decades. If you're not going to give a guy an award for breaking something that took 27 years to break, you got to really establish what this award is all about. Is it the best player? Is it the most impressive stat line? Is it what kind of year did this guy have all the way across the board? And then fourth, and probably not last, how successful was his team and what are they nationally ranked? Now, if you're telling me that the SEC and Alabama getting another playoff berth is not a factor here, you're kidding yourself, all right? The NCAA, football and basketball, loaded with politics, loaded with booster club money, loaded with, I'm sure, handshakes and kissing of the babies amongst guys that are really involved in the upper echelons of the NCAA committees and all of that. I never had a great feeling about a lot of the politics that go on in the NCAA. I think there's a lot of wrongs. I don't want to go too much off on a tangent, but I really thought McCaffrey was going to get this. And we're not going to see another season like that all the way across the board. Look, Henry, I'm not taking anything away from the guy. I just pat him on the back. First round pick. If he's not, you're stupid for passing on him. And he's going to be a great NFL running back, I think. McCaffrey, I think he's going to the NFL. I think he's going to be a very interesting piece. His role is not fully defined yet, I think, of what he can be in the NFL, especially because you got so many interesting pieces of similar guys like he is between an Amendola and maybe a Danny Woodhead, guys of that nature, even Sproulsy, who plays several different phases on the field. But I was just shocked by this, and it did bother me a little because I don't think we're going to see, another performance like that on the year all the way across the board for a very long time. And so, kudos to McCaffrey, heck of a year, nothing to hang his head about. It's just you're giving out an award that you hype all year, all we hear about is who's going to win the Heisman, who's going to win the Heisman. I mean, I'm kind of with Colin Cowherd on this. He always talks about it. It's an award. And a lot of these awards are just awards that only a few people decide, and then the rest of the nation's supposed to accept. I think McCaffrey meant more to his team than Henry. Personally. Again, nothing taking away from Henry, but I thought McCaffrey was absolutely the all-around most valuable player in the NFL, in the NCAA this season. We're segueing. By the way, this is hopefully the last, maybe second or third to last time you'll have to see the FaceTime No HD. I'm working on a multiple camera set. Got a tech buddy helping me later today. Minus the Giants game tonight, which we took both money line and spread. 4-2 right now as a money line and 2-0 in spread. Remember the guy who told you when the Patriots are only being given 3.5 points, take the Pats, swallow the points, do it easy. He did. I did. Look what happened. We got the W. And then I took the... It was an interesting game, but I read you the breakdown. Pittsburgh kind of owned Cincinnati, and Cincinnati as of late. And Andy Dalton went down, so of course the spread was covered. But even before that, it looked like Pittsburgh was there to play, and they were going to get the W. So I won those two games, but I am going to admit to some losses. Okay, I took the Colts. Wow, was I wrong. 51 Jaguar points. All right, that's probably the last. We're on the Hasselback train. That was a tough game to watch. Looking at the past in the Colts, how many times they won at Jacksonville and against the Jags and in the AFC South, I mean, they've dominated. So I went with the history. I went with the momentum of the previous games in Jacksonville with the Colts-Jags history, and I was wrong. I was wrong by a lot. Jaguars, I think Jaguars are here to stay. I mean, it's a team that's drafted well the last few years. They got a ton of young talent on offense. I mean, Bortles continuing to develop. You got a rookie running back in Yeldon. Allen Hurns, Allen Robinson, the Allens. Talk about an NFL spinoff show. The Allens. I'd watch the Allens. Guys look like they're interesting cats. They pick up Julius Thomas from the Denver Broncos last year. Had a great season with Peyton. It's a complete offense, in my opinion, by maybe one or two more pieces, but then you got a guy like Green, who returned a kick yesterday, who's the rookie wide receiver from Florida State, who was one of Winston's favorite options there. It's looking like a team. Now, they won, and the Texans lost, and the Colts lost, so the AFC South is actually looking quite interesting. I'm going to stick with the Colts because, you know, if luck comes back, they go 2-0 or 3-0. This might be an 8-8 division winner. Interesting season. We might have two divisions. 2 of our 8 divisions in the NFL having a team either at 500 or under 500. Does it speak to the competitiveness of the NFL, or does it speak to the level of mediocrity that we're seeing? There's so many teams middle of the pack, but I actually think the former. I'm going to go with the fact that there's a lot of guys in the league on teams that it's so close. You know, I think it's like 23 points in offense averages in the NFL, and there's not many teams that can't hit 23 points on any given day. So those are the 2 losses I had, and that was the loss I had, and the other loss I had was I took the Bears at home over the Redskins, and again, you're looking at a team that's 1-12 under Jay Gruden on the road, abysmal on the road, statistically speaking, and Kirk Cousins comes out and has a 300-yard day, and they run the ball. Alfred Morris hits pay dirt. Great time to bench him on my fantasy team. Idiot. Matt Jones was productive. And again, I think the Redskins D, they haven't gotten a lot of credit this year, but the Redskins defense has done fairly well in comparative to the last couple seasons. Robbie, not so solid gold, misses another clutch field goal. This was to tie it at 24 a pop. And then who knows what would have happened. I thought the Bears, because they got off to a slow start, they were backpedaling and making up. They got there. They had the opportunity to tie the game. They couldn't. So it's a loss. I mean, this is the NFL, but I thought, that was really the Bears. So really my only true loss to this point was the Colts game, which, wow, blown away. I tip my cap to the Jags. So I did win the Steeler game. They had 3.5 points, and they actually won the game. So if you took money line, you really would have won. And then obviously the Pats taking down the Texans in Houston. I mean, come on. Bet the house on that. And then I took the Jets over the Titans. They got the win. I took the Packers over the Cowboys. Nothing to write home about. That was, Aaron Rodgers at home against a backup. Not really giving myself much credit there. And then we got the Giants game, who I got tonight, and should be an interesting one because, two teams. I think Dolphins probably are packing it in. I mean, there's no way at 9-7 if they ran the table and won this last month, are they going to go all the way? There's just no way. So tonight, I think the Giants are going to win. I like that matchup. I want to give a quick shout out. I think one of the most dangerous teams. I mean, I want to see Cam in the Super Bowl because he deserves it. But have you seen what the Seahawks have been doing? Winning 6 of their last 7 games. Let me read you Russell Wilson's last 3 stat lines against the Steelers, at the Vikings, and at the Ravens, respectively. So, Steelers, he had 70% completion percentage, 345 yards, 5 tugs, 147.9 quarterback rating. 2 weeks ago, last week, at the Vikings, 77.8 completion percentage, 274 yards, 3 tugs, again 0 picks, 146 quarterback rating. Then yesterday, no Marshawn Lynch. Of course, there's no Jimmy Graham. Thomas Rawls out for the season, broke his ankle, middle of the game. Spread them out wide, Darren Bevel. 71.9 completion percentage, 292 yards, 5 tugs, 139.6 QB rating. Are you kidding me? The guy is butters. All right, I want to say money, but he is butters right now. And this is an interesting note that Chris Carter pointed out on Mike and Mike. He said when Jimmy Graham got hurt, believe it or not, that actually was one of the best things. I mean, of course not. I don't mean best things. Someone gets hurt. It's not good for anybody. But what he was saying was they tried for the first 2 months of this season to really integrate Jimmy Graham. I mean, let's face it. He's a top 5 tight end, top talent, freak athlete, can jump through a building, finesse player, great hands, all the above. Productive as heck with Drew Brees in New Orleans. But he comes to the team and it's like, this is a team that's been winning with a lot of guys that aren't quote-unquote superstar wide receiver athletes. I think Doug Baldwin is playing as well as anybody this last month, without question. The guy's numbers are stupid. Tyler Lockett, the rookie's coming on. Great fantasy pickup and start yesterday for me. Thank you. Over 21 Yahoo fantasy points. You. And then you got guys like Luke Wilson, Thomas Rawls. Now, Rawls is out. That's actually going to hurt. I mean, Western Michigan, Central Michigan, I think is where they found him. Pete Carroll really knows how to pick him. I mean, Marshawn Lynch gets hurt. That's the backbone of this offense the last 3 seasons, and it's not even looking like they're missing a beat right now. But another interesting note that maybe is contributing, I think is contributing to the 6 of their last 7 victories, and this is Peter Schrager, who was on Colin Cowherd's show talking about this. This was this morning, actually. So the Hawks played at Dallas on November 1st. They didn't hit the road again until December 6th. Literally. If you got 3 home games in a row and a bye, and you get to sleep in your own bed for a month, you don't think that's a factor? Again, I'm going to bring up what Sean Merriman said. The best thing for an NFL player in the middle of the season, in the end of the season, is a week off. Week off. Jason Whitlock, J. School, great blog, great writer, great journalist. This man has actually suggested an 18-game season and a mandatory several weeks off for players. It's an interesting note. I want to see Cam Newton, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, my favorite guy, all those dudes every week. But I care about the longevity of these guys' careers. We don't want to see the other statement for NFL is not for long. That's the other acronym. And I think it's 3 years, 4 years maybe, average guy plays in the league. If we were to take a couple weeks off for these players, what I do like about that is there's some interesting strategy. I mean, number one, it creates more jobs. More guys are going to be on a roster. They're going to have to blow up the roster, more than 53 guys if they're going to give a couple guys off. And then you got to pick and choose when you want, like, ooh, do I want to start Cam this week, or should I put Derek Anderson in because, we're playing at home against the Falcons, who are just struggling all the way across the board? I don't know. Interesting. But I'm actually, not completely against it to some degree. I think if they were to take 4 games off, which I might have heard him say, that's a little bit much. But if they took 2 games off and then added 2 games, I actually think that's pretty interesting. So we'll have to see about that. But ultimately, wanted to hop on here and pretty much give my kudos to the few people respectively, kind of wrapping up real quick. Russell Wilson playing out of his mind. Stupid quarterbacking. Who says you can't date a celebrity and still ball? And where is it? Oh, this has been another edition of Drop the Ball. I'm your host, Alex Monaco. Let's go, Giants. They win tonight. I go 3-0 in spreads for the weekend. It's pretty good. Check out our channel. We interview professional athletes. We challenge professional athletes. We play video games with comedians. We do green screen, random videos. We do touchdown celebrations. This is the Extraordinary Sports Channel. You are watching Drop the Ball. Thank you for tuning in. And remember, folks, enjoy yourself. Life is short.